Hi, this is Smoke Long on the Road. I'm Christopher Allen, and today we're in Dubai talking to Hananah Zaheer. Hananah Zaheer lives, writes, and improvises life and theater in Dubai. Her latest work has appeared in Alaska Quarterly Review and Michigan Quarterly Review, where it won the Lawrence Foundation Fiction Prize. She's working on a collection of short stories and a novel. Welcome, Hananah.
Thank you.
Let's begin with your path to Dubai. How'd you get here, and how's life in Dubai as an expat, and what's your writing life like?
So I moved to Dubai about 10 years ago for my husband's job, and it's been an interesting relationship. So initially when I moved here, I wanted to go back to the US constantly. I missed the writing world. I had just finished my master's a few years before that at Maryland. So my writing community is all in DC, in that area. And it was hard to leave because once you get to know a place and you have, these places you can go to bookshops, you know where to go for readings, you have a circle of writers, you can show your work to, and I didn't have any of that here. And also this was my first time to the Middle East, so I didn't quite know what to expect. But since then, I keep going back every year, but it's become much easier to be here, just because I think over time you end up discovering people like you, people of similar interests. As you mentioned, I've gotten involved in theater, which is, it's nice to have a creative outlet other than just writing. And through that, actually, I've managed to meet a whole bunch of writers and poets and performance artists, and so there is quite a nice community here. Not as big as in the US, which I still miss, but...
How has that changed the way you write?
It has made me a little bit more strategic with asking for feedback. I now know exactly which people to reach out to, so I'm a lot more selective. I think back when I was, maybe that's a function of getting older as well, I don't know. But I think back when I was in DC, I would kind of find anybody who was willing to read and just kind of take their feedback. Now I'm very particular. I have two friends, they're both stateside. And I send them stuff and say, okay, can you give me a little feedback. It's also helped me, I think, being closer to Pakistan, because a lot of the stuff I'm now writing is based in Pakistan. And even though I don't go there as much, just being in this environment and being in this area and being around a lot of Pakistani people helps inform what I'm working on.
Yeah, okay. You founded the Dubai Literary Salon?
I did.
Tell us what that's like and what kind of people read at the Dubai Literary Salon.
So, just to give you a little bit of a background, like I said, when I came here, I felt like I was in a literal and figurative desert. There's no literary stuff that I could find. And so this started primarily just as over coffee idea with a friend. It's like, I could just maybe I just do this reading once a month and let's see if anybody shows up. At the worst, it'll be 5 people, and we'll just read each other's work and it'll be great. And this was 2 years ago, and over the months, it's slowly grown. We do a lot of local writers and local talent, because I do kind of think, we live in this community, you should be able to give back, and the readings are all free, open to the public. And then occasionally we'll have an author who's just had a book published, or a novel, or poetry book, and then we feature them. Last year we had the Man Booker finalist Mohsin Hamid with his book Exit West, which was a fantastic evening. We also had Siobhan Fallon. She's an American writer who lives in Abu Dhabi, and her books have been quite well received. So we've been lucky to have people who just want to come, show up, bring their books, and have conversations. And I think in a place like Dubai, where you have a lot of commercial ventures happening, it's nice to be part of a thing that's just for the community, no fees or anything involved.
Cool. Hananah, in 2017, you won Michigan Quarterly Review's Lawrence Foundation Prize for the story In the Days of Old Things. From the excerpt on the website, I understand that it's a story about ethnic segregation. Is that right? And could you give us a deeper understanding of what the story's about and why you wrote it?
So, yes. this is a story about ethnic segregation of a certain kind, although I've envisioned a world. So these stories are, just to go back, this story is set in Pakistan, in the city called Lahore, which is a very traditional and old city and has a lot of historical stuff happening. The reason this story came about was because there was a plan to propose a metro line through the city. Now this, to me, reading that there's this metro coming was awful. Just simply because I know technology is good and I know advancement's good, but this city feels like very much part of my soul. And so to see something cut across its heart in such a ugly way didn't feel right. So I started imagining what it would be like if you had a government, or if you had these people making decisions for you, and sort of changing things around you. And then slowly this idea of this old woman emerged. And so essentially this story is about an old woman who lives in this apartment, who's been there for a very long time, and the government has decided that the old folks need to be moved out somewhere else. And a certain kind of religion needs to be moved out a certain place, and so only the young, fit, and approved people can be part of society. And they're sort of trying to create a model society. So this doesn't exactly go all the way into it. This is just about this woman and how she's trying to stay in her apartment. And then she has these government agents come in and pretend to more or less help her out and just say, it's okay, you'll be fine. But she's not quite fine at the end of the story.
Okay. And this is part of the collection you're writing about Pakistan?
This is. Okay. It's part of this entire, I wouldn't say dystopian, but leaning in that direction, sort of an odd world, which thankfully, as I was working on the collection, well, not thankfully, but Trump happened. And all of a sudden, I was forced to imagine what a sort of revolution in government can do to the people, little lives, whether they agree with that government or not. And that even for people who are aligned with the ideologies of the government, that even for them, lives can become very difficult, or they can become little sacrifices to this grand cause, and how much is okay. So I think a lot of the stories sort of deal with the smaller lives within a bigger picture.
You're so busy. You edit for 2 journals and you do interviews for Smokelong. Thank you so much for doing that. Why do you think it's important for writers to volunteer their time to be involved in the community?
I can't help it. That's the simple answer. I have this strange tendency to want to see things and just jump right into them. I was editing for 2 journals up until about a week and a half ago. I worked with Potomac Review for 9 years, and then I just said to them that I'm going to take a little bit of step back for now, but I'm still fiction editing for Rivendell, and I enjoy doing that very much. And also thank you, by the way, for letting me do interviews for Smokelong. I've really gotten to read some very interesting work that I probably would not have looked at that deeply had I not been doing the interviews. I don't know if it's important to volunteer, but I feel like if you're going to be involved in the literary world, and if you want yourself and your work to be taken seriously by other people, then you have to take the world itself seriously. And as a participant in anything, in a family, in a community, it's natural to be part. I mean, you can't just take, you have to sort of be there to give back as well. And so I do think my friends think I can't say no and end up doing a little too much. But I would rather be doing a little too much than, not doing it all, because frankly, at the end of it, it does all feed my, need for literary stuff. It feeds my need for community, for understanding what's happening out there. Otherwise, I would be in isolation, especially in an expat world, sitting all the way over here.
Yeah, in Dubai.
It's not the worst place to be stuck.
No,
but
of course, it's beautiful. Many thanks to Hananah Zaheer for this interview today in Dubai, and for the interview she does for Smokelong Quarterly. Keep an eye on the Smokelong blog for our next installment of Smokelong on the Road.